So on the basis of our last discussion, we are starting with de Moivre's theorem today. As per de Moivre's theorem, we should have cos theta plus I sin theta whole to the power n as cos n theta plus I sin n theta. And the easiest way to establish so is through polar transformation, like cos theta plus I sin theta. This is a Cartesian representation. And as per our last discussion, we can transform this into e to the power I theta. And that's appearing with a whole power n. So that's cos theta plus I sin theta whole to the power n has transformed into e to the power I theta whole to the power n. That eventually same as e to the power I n theta. এবার আমরা যখন e to the power I n theta পাচ্ছি, over here this n theta can be considered as the angle of cos and sin, and hence again we are changing this unimodular complex number into the real part and complex part, that is Cartesian transformation. So we are considering it's e to the power I, the angle itself is n theta, so that's same as cos n theta plus I sin n theta. For your school or board purpose, you might have certain proofs using principle of mathematical induction, যেখানে তোমাদের এই cos theta plus I sin theta whole to the power n এটাকে cos n theta plus I sin n theta establish করতে হয় using PMI, means principle of mathematical induction. So সেক্ষেত্রে আমরা কি করি, যে 1 এর জন্য এটা ট্রু সে তো দেখাই যাচ্ছে, we believe whenever it is true for some n is equals to k, তাহলে n এর জায়গায় k plus 1 বসালে যে cos theta plus I sin theta whole to the power k পাওয়া যায়, তার সাথে আরো একটা মাল্টিপ্লাই করতে হবে, রাইট? আমি তোমাদের অন্য পেজে দেখাচ্ছি। ওকে, let's not get bothered about this. আমরা simply consider করছি, পেজটা আমি একটু রোটেট করে লিখছি so that you can get a better visibility. Say cos theta plus I sin theta, এটা যদি সাম k এর জন্য ট্রু ধরে নি, মানে আমরা কনসিডার করে নিচ্ছি this happens. ওকে, এবার আমরা বোথ সাইডে একটা অ্যাডিশনাল cos theta plus I sin theta মাল্টিপ্লাই করছি। তার মানে on the other side we will have this expression multiplied by cos theta plus I sin theta, that is cos theta plus I sin theta whole to the power k plus 1 is cos k theta Pratyush, please unmute, please mute yourself while speaking to somebody else. Cos k theta into cos theta minus sin k theta into sin theta, that's the real part, and the imaginary part is sin k theta into cos theta plus cos k theta into sin theta, and hence this cos theta plus I sin theta whole to the power k plus 1, this is appearing as cos of k plus 1 into theta plus iota times sin of k plus 1 into theta. So we have assumed this is true for some k, and now we have found it true for some k plus 1. So using principle of mathematical induction, we can conclude this is true for all natural numbers. Okay, but we cannot even conclude then also for all real number, which can be easily done with the polar transformation. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So after having de Moivre's theorem, we are going for some problems which is very commonly used variation of problems. Like if x been given as -5 plus 4 iota, then find the value for x to the power 4 plus 9x cube plus 35x square minus x plus 4. And definitely you can identify in such variation of question, substituting the value of x is definitely not a good idea, because then we need to open each of the term using binomial expansion.
Yes, sir.
And it will be a huge calculation to be addressed. So in all such forms, we firstly look at the degree, like this is a biquadratic. And from the given relation, we can have x plus 5 is 4 iota. So squaring both sides, we can get to x squared plus 10x plus 41 as 0. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, sir.
And now we are transforming this x to the power 4 plus 9x cube plus 35x square minus x plus 4 using division algorithm. We can write it as x squared plus 10x plus 41 multiplied with x squared minus x plus 4 minus 160. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that's divisor into quotient plus remainder. But we know the divisor will transform into 0 value when we are using the given reference of x. So that means the dividend can be reduced to just minus 160 as a value. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, sir.
So a simple polynomial division can do the job for us. We would have done the same thing if it is of higher degree also. Like squaring is the most simple job we can think of. So even instead of a biquadratic, if we had some degree 5 or degree 6 representation, we should have proceeded in the same way. Because the divisor into quotient part, that eventually transform into 0. And what we should have at most is a remainder, which is definitely of a degree lesser than the degree of divisor. So at most what we can have is a remainder of degree 1. So even over there, substitution would have been easy. Okay with everyone?
Yes, sir.
The next example is find principal argument value and modulus for iota to the power iota. Now, if we look into this expression, iota to the power iota, that is something very special. Like at this moment, it is neither in polar form nor in Cartesian form. So to have the change, what we have done, we have written the base iota, this iota, in the polar form as e to the power I pi by 2. Iota is with modulus 1 and argument pi by 2 can be represented as e to the power I pi by 2 in the polar form. Is this statement okay with everyone?
Okay, sir.
And
Yes,
hence
sir.
iota to the power iota been written as e to the power I pi by 2 whole to the power iota. That's same as e to the power iota square pi by 2 or e to the power minus pi by 2, which is a positive real number. So that shows that iota, which we treat like some imaginary number or some non-existent number, it's not like that. Iota, which was considered to be a complex number or imaginary number, when iota appears with iota, it's actually gives us a very feasible positive real number. And we know that the principal arguments for positive real numbers are 0. Is that okay? So iota to the power iota, when being transformed in this way, we can identify the modulus is e to the power minus pi by 2 and principal argument value 0. Is the problem clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Next question is, if modulus of z minus 2 plus 3 iota less than equals to 1, then find the maximum value of mod of z plus 3 minus 2 iota. Now, there are two ways to address this question. Okay, we can think of this question algebraically, we can think of this question geometrically. Now, over here, what do you think will be an easier approach? Algebraic or geometric?
Algebraic.
Okay, and why you believe that it will be easy by algebraic? Because look here, it's z minus 2
আমি
plus
এরকম
3 iota, and it is
ট্রাই করেছিলাম পারিনি
so yes, algebraically it's also performable, but it's much easy when you are going for it geometrically. Like, can anyone interpret what does stand for, or what is the geometrical meaning of modulus of z minus 2 plus 3 iota?
The point minus 2 comma 3.
No, not the point minus 2 comma 3.
From Z we have to go 2 units to the left on the 2 units to the left and 3 units upwards.
Or can we think it like z, then taking minus common, 2 minus 3 iota?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
2 minus 3 iota stands for which point? From a Cartesian plane?
2 comma minus 3.
2 comma minus 3, right? So z minus 2 plus 3 iota, which can also be treated as z minus of 2 minus 3 iota, and when been written within modulus, it gives you the geometric distance between z and the point 2 comma minus 3.
Yes, sir.
And what is been stated about that distance? It is less than or equals to 1. So that confirms that we are looking towards a circular disc which centered at 2 comma minus 3, and radius of the outermost circumference is 1, right? So it is a compact circular disc. Now what we need to find? The maximum distance of such a point from the circular disc from the point minus 3 comma 2, right? It can be interpreted as z minus of minus 3 plus 2 iota. So if we consider all the points described by the first circular disc, then what will be maximum distance of a point from the circular disc when been measured from minus 3 comma 2, right? This is corresponding diagram. We had a circular disc with center 2 comma minus 3, maximum radius 1, minus 3 comma 2. So that's 5 root 2 units away point from the center, whereas this is 1 unit, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is also 1 unit. So the nearest point is 5 root 2 minus units away, and the farthest point is 5 root 2 plus 1 units away, right?
Yes, sir.
Is the observation and the calculation clear for all?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Now, what should have been the algebraic proceeding? That we could have written this thing as z minus 2 plus 3 iota plus 5 minus 5 iota, right? I'm just showing you once. we could have written this particular thing as modulus of z minus 2 plus 3 iota minus minus 5 plus 5 iota. Can you write that?
Yes, sir.
And then we can go by the property of modulus. So this shows it is at least 5 root 2 minus 1 because this will have modulus 5 root 2. And this part already been said with modulus 1 or less. So minimum modulus value is 5 root 2 minus 1 and maximum modulus will be 5 root 2 plus 1. Is that okay with everyone? So you can go either way. It's easy and short in both ways. Is the idea clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Next question is, if a plus iota b whole to the power 5 been given by p plus iota q, then find b plus iota a whole to the power 5. So firstly, you just try to solve it, then we will go for it. So we have a plus iota b whole to the power 5 already given as p plus iota q. So we can think of the corresponding conjugate complex number a minus iota b whole to the power 5. That should be p minus iota iq. So that means if I take minus iota common out of that from the base, so outside it will be minus iota to the power 5 and inside a by minus iota plus b whole to the power 5 is equals to p minus iota q. So that's minus iota is actually iota cube. So outside we can write it iota to the power 15 into b plus iota a whole to the power 5 is equals to p minus iota cube. Just to ignore it, we have multiplied by another iota. Because we know that iota to the power 16 is 1,
Yes.
right? So after the multiplication by iota, just to transform this iota to the power 15 into iota to the power 16 so that we can replace it by 1. We have got b plus iota a whole to the power 5 is equals to iota p minus iota square q. That's simply q plus iota p. Okay. Let's go for the next one. Now, this is something very, very precise and specific and very frequently asked variation of competitive exams. Over here, I haven't used any data. I have just given the question to show you the format. What is the format of the question? You can go through. Like we will be given with a0 plus a1z plus a2z squared up to some a and zn is equals to b. So we will be given with a polynomial equation in z. Now this highlighted section has all solutions contained in standard unit circle may or may not be given in the question. Like whatever you can identify highlighted in brown, that may or may not be mentioned in the question. Though if it is not mentioned, we cannot solve the question in exact, but still we will believe even if it is not given, this information is true, because without this information, the question will not stay solvable. Okay. So if the question is given, it's well and good. Even if it is not given, still we will believe in such variation of question, this information is well understood. So we do have all roots of this polynomial equation lying within standard unit circle, means all solutions are having modulus less than 1. Now, this is happening in complex plane. And we need to find the radius of the largest concentric circle which does not contain any of the solutions, means concentric circle to this unit circle. That means we already know by this highlighted information that all solutions, if Zi are the solution, then all, or say if Zk is the Zk are the solutions, then modulus of Zk less than 1. Now we need to find mod k if it is less than, sorry, if it is greater than some lambda, then what can be considered as the largest value of that lambda. And regarding that, sorry, not lambda, I have used already lambda. If modulus of Zk is greater than some mu, then what should be the largest value of mu? That we need to decide under the consideration that modulus of each coefficient is less than equals to lambda, which is definitely less than modulus of b, which is a positive real number. Okay. So if we consider all the solutions, then as per the information, all the solutions satisfy mod z less than 1, what has been stated in this highlighted section. Now we need to find the largest r satisfying modulus of z greater than r, right? Can everyone follow this motive of the question? Proceeding forward, what we have done, firstly, we have considered the polynomial equation and applied modulus on both sides. So the equality staying unaltered due to that. Up to the last line, was it clear, the motive?
Yes, sir.
And now to justify our motive, we have applied modulus on both sides because this is what we are targeting for. So we need mod. So with targeting that, we have applied mod. But the mod is unable to reach to the individual jets. So we have splitted the left-hand side mod. The moment we have splitted the left-hand side modulus, now it is greater than or equals to the last appearance value. And now in each term, we have made it modulus of coefficient into modulus of z, right? Now each of the coefficient having modulus value at most lambda. So even if I replace each of the modulus value for the coefficient by lambda, we will get to such a relation, right? Can everyone follow this part?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just look to the steps carefully. So are we somehow close to our motive or are we going away? Because what we finally did is this green highlighted form. So are we somehow getting to that direction? Are we getting the power 1 of mod z and a corresponding relation to conclude like this? Even after considering all the inequalities that we could have concluded from modulus properties? Are we somehow close?
Sir,
Or it's not feasible?
Sir, we can try like shortening out the entire expansion into a GP form.
Very good. So if I consider at this stage, this is a power n plus 1 relation in mod z. If I transform this by a GP sum, it will be something mod z to the power n plus 1 appearing, and hence it will go beyond our control. As our target is such a comparison, so what will we do? Even ahead of that, one more thing, even after all this inequality, we are unable to remove this equal possibility. Still it is left-hand side greater than or equals to modulus of b. So to get rid of this equal possibility and to reduce the degree, the lone way out, if I extend the GP infinitely, and even after that, we are assured to have a finite sum only when the common ratio is numerically less than 1. So that is why we needed modulus of z less than 1 for each of the solution. Because then only an infinite extension is assured to have a finite result. Okay, and as soon as you do that, now we have get rid of the equality because this is some imbalance change we have provided to the left hand side. We have added additional terms to the left hand side, what we haven't provided in the right hand side. Okay, and eventually as per our target, it's been changed into lambda into 1 by 1 minus mod z, that's greater than mod b, that is 1 minus mod z less than lambda by mod b, or modulus of z greater than 1 minus lambda by mod b. So this is the maximum value of r. So it's something like that. If I consider this blue circle as the standard unit circle of complex plane, so we have been said all the roots are inside this circle, and we needed to have that green circle, the largest green circle, concentric to blue circle, which does not contain any of the roots inside that. Okay. So how we have decided, is that clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Sir, how is the equality sign eliminated?
We have produced the GP up to infinite number of terms. Have we made any corresponding change to right hand side?
No, sir.
So that's an imbalance, right? You have done something to left hand side in terms of increasing its value, whereas you haven't done anything to right hand side. So the equal possibility, which was intact up to this stage, after this imbalance change, it's been lost, right?
Yes, sir.
So everyone followed so far? So as I said, this variation is also very useful for competitive. আর কি ভেরিয়েশন আমরা কনসিডার করতে পারি এই কোশ্চেনে, যে এই কোএফিসিয়েন্ট গুলোর জন্য এই যে স্টেটমেন্টটা দেওয়া আছে, দ্যাট ইচ অফ দি কোএফিসিয়েন্ট হ্যাভিং আ মডিউলাস ভ্যালু নট এক্সিডিং ল্যামডা, সেটা না করে you might have been given this coefficients as some cosine of some angle or sine of some angle. আমরা জানি by default cosine of some angle or sine of some angle, they cannot exceed the modulus value 1. তাহলে সেক্ষেত্রে তোমার কাছে এই ইনফরমেশনটা কিন্তু আর আলাদা করে কোশ্চেনে থাকবে না. By default we need to consider that lambda is equals to 1. Okay, or you might be given with some other types of coefficients where you by default know the above limit for the modulus. So upper bounded numbers having an maximum limit for their modulus value, and that's a finite number. Okay, am I clear this far?
Yeah.
So I'm rotating the screen again.
If the circle has radius greater than 1, then will this concentric circle not exist?
In that case, it's not conclusive. We will not say it's non-existent. Like instead of mod z less than 1, if we had the modulus of z been said less than 2, then it should have been conclusive only for mod z less than 1. Because if modulus of z is more than 1, we cannot have transformation from this line to this line when we are pursuing an infinite extension to the GP. Okay, so this imbalance can be created only with the information that mod z is less than 1, and this extension eventually reducing the degree of comparison, and it is still there with a finite sum. The next variation is also very common variation of problems for complex number. Like if it has been said modulus of ZR is equals to R plus 1 for R is equals to 1, 2, 3, and it's been given 16 Z1 Z2 plus 9 Z1 Z3 plus 4 Z2 Z3, having the modulus value for this sum is 72. Then we need to find the modulus of Z1 plus Z2 plus Z3. Okay. So how can we interpret the first information in connection with the question? R has only 3 variation, 1, 2, 3. Means modulus of Z1 is 2. And modulus of Z2 is 3. Modulus of Z3 is 4, right?
Yes, sir.
And look to this coefficients, 16, 9, 4. This 16 is square of 4, right?
Yes, sir.
Because modulus of Z3.
Yes, sir.
So it's square of the modulus of Z3. This 9 is square of 3, that is square of modulus Z2. And this 4 is square of the modulus of Z1. So in such variation, we will start with replacing this constant terms with the corresponding complex number multiplied with its conjugate, because when a complex number been multiplied to its conjugate, it gives you the product result square of the modulus value. So square of modulus Z3 can be represented as Z3 into Z3 bar, this one Z2 into Z2 bar, and this one Z1 into Z2 bar. And that allows us to take modulus Z1, Z2, Z3 common out of each term. Okay? And we are left with Z3 bar from here, Z2 bar from here, and Z1 bar from here. Or in simple form, modulus of Z1, we can split it into modulus of Z1 into modulus of Z2 into modulus of Z3 multiplied with modulus of Z1 bar plus Z2 bar plus Z3 bar is 72. Substituting the value 2 into 3 into 4 into modulus of Z1 plus Z2 plus Z3 whole bar, because we know that sum of the conjugates is same as conjugate of sum. And for any complex number and its conjugate complex number, modulus values are same. So we can even replace modulus of Z1 plus Z2 plus Z3 whole bar as modulus of Z1 plus Z2 plus Z3. Okay? Is the variation clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So we are proceeding ahead. Right down the next idea, roots of unity. Now this is something very, very important. Okay. And the roots of unity, we will start with the idea of de Moivre's theorem. Like at the beginning of this session, we have talked about de Moivre's theorem. So we'll go by that idea to have roots of unity. Roots of unity means roots of 1. So far we have considered that if we apply any even root of 1, then they are plus 1 and minus 1. And if we apply any odd root on 1, it is only 1 itself. Because so far our acceptability was very much restricted to real values. But now when we are considering non-real values also, then how to decide on that? So firstly, we have targeted something feasible, that is cube root of 1. So if we believe Z is a cube root of 1, then Z cube is 1, right? So taking same side, if we factorize, we get Z minus 1 into Z square plus Z plus 1 is equals to 0. From the first factor, we are getting the lone real possibility as Z is equals to 1, whereas from the second quadratic, we have ignored them so far as the discriminant was negative and it's not producing any real values. But now when we are into the complex plane, we can accept the roots to be minus half, plus or minus iota root 3 by 2. These are the two roots from the second quadratic factor. So overall, we have got 3 roots. 1 minus half plus iota root 3 by 2 and minus half minus iota root 3 by 2. We denote the first value minus half plus iota root 3 by 2 as omega, and visibly the other one is omega bar, right? These are visibly two complex conjugate number coming from the roots are coming as the roots of a real quadratic equation. So definitely complex conjugate roots. So if the first one been marked as omega, then the second one is omega bar. Now if we check square of omega, that's minus half plus iota root 3 by 2 whole square. If I open the whole square, we have got 1 by 4 minus 3 by 4 minus 2 into half into iota root 3 by 2. That's been found minus half minus iota root 3 by 2, which was the conjugate complex number. And hence, under two-dimensional numbers, this pair has become very, very special because they are conjugate of each other as well as they are square of each other. Now, how they are square of each other? Omega square is omega bar. Now, if you have omega bar square, you can identify that itself is omega. Even you can consider omega bar whole square is omega square whole to the power 2, right? We can think of that as omega square whole to the power 2, which is omega to the power 4. That's omega cube into omega. Omega already been identified as roots of 1. We can identify omega cube is 1 and hence omega to the power 4 is omega itself. Okay. So in any way, we have got two roots who are conjugate of each other, who are square of each other. And even from the idea that omega cube is 1, we can identify them to be reciprocal of each other. So we have never seen two numbers like that, who have got all three specialities simultaneously too. And what are the specialities? They are reciprocal of each other. That's something very normal. We have experienced a lot. If one number, if A is reciprocal of B, B is reciprocal to A. So two numbers reciprocal to each other, that's normal. Two numbers conjugate of each other, that was also something very frequently found. But two numbers square of each other, that is something rare and been found for the first time. Okay. And we have got these two numbers as square of each other. And not only that, even the earlier two specialties already there. Is it okay for all?
Yes, sir. Okay.
So write down, under the two-dimensional number system, omega and omega square are the only pair of numbers which are conjugate, reciprocal, and square of each other. From sum of the roots or from the value, you can conclude that omega plus omega square is minus 1. As we do know their values, so you can simply add. These are two conjugate complex numbers, so their addition will be twice of their real part. Or you can directly look that omega and omega square are roots of this quadratic. So sum of the roots is minus 1 from there also.
Yes, sir.
Now, as for the first time, we have gone for finding roots for z square plus z plus 1 variations. We have considered, earlier we have left out certain factorization considering that as the roots are not real, so the factorization cannot be done anymore in terms of real coefficient. Now, if we look into those polynomial expression and can think of their factorization into linear factors. So we have started with x square plus y square. This is the first factorization we have left. We have learned factorization of x square minus y square way back at the beginning of algebra. And we ignored x square plus y square. Now we can identify, this can be addressed as x plus iota y into x minus iota y. So in terms of complex coefficient, this can be factorized into degree 1 factors. Similarly, just now we have learned x square plus x plus 1 having 0 possibilities under omega and omega square, and hence factors are x minus omega and x minus omega square. If I replace x with minus x, we will get x square minus x plus 1. So we'll have roots minus omega and minus omega square. So the corresponding factors are x plus omega and x plus omega square. So if I think of x square plus xy plus y square, taking y square common, we can make it x by y whole square plus x by y plus 1. So matching with the second variation, and hence can be factorized into x minus y omega into x minus y omega square. Is the factorization clear to all? What we are doing, firstly, we are taking y square common. If I take y square common and consider x by y as the new variable, say t. So we will get t square plus t plus 1. From the earlier idea, we know that it can be factorized as t minus omega and t minus omega square, and then multiplying each of the factor with the y, because we had y square common. If we multiply each factor with a y, it will be ty minus omega, ty minus y omega and ty minus y omega square, whereas ty is x, as we have considered x by y as t. On a similar note, x square minus xy plus y square can be written as x plus y omega into x plus y omega square. Up to fifth, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, using fourth, we can completely factorize x cube minus y cube. Earlier, we were supposed to leave it as x minus y into x square plus xy plus y square. Now, with the fourth point, we can completely factorize x cube minus y cube. And so is for x cube plus y cube. Earlier, we were supposed to leave it as x plus y into x square minus xy plus y square. But now we can go for complete factorization. The next one is a bit special. X square plus y square plus z square minus xy minus yz minus zx, that can be factorized into x plus y omega plus z omega square into x plus y omega square plus z omega. And hence, x cube plus y cube plus z cube minus 3xyz now can be completely factorized into x plus y plus z into the factors of point number 8. Now, if you try to identify how it's been factorized into this part, it's better to multiply these two factors. Because over here, sum of the 1 has to be replaced by omega cube, and sum of the minus 1 has to be replaced by omega plus omega square, or omega square plus omega to the power 4. Okay? We know that these values are minus 1, so it's better to have the transformation from right hand side multiplication to left hand side. Okay? Now, with these ideas, if we target the nth roots of unity, with nth roots of unity, how we should target? That if I consider z is an nth root of 1, so like earlier cube root, we should have z to the power n is 1. Now, instead going for factorization, which was easy for z cube is equals to 1, now for a general n, it's not that easy. So we are transforming this one into the polar form as e to the power I into any even multiple of pi. If you consider a complex number whose modulus is 1 and argument value is any even multiple of pi, then it is definitely 1 itself. So 1 being represented as a polar form of complex number, e to the power iota into 2k pi, k being any integer. So z itself will give us e to the power I into 2 pi into k by n. Actually, it will be whole to the power 1 by n, but that whole to the power 1 by n can be written as k by n multiplied with e to the power I into 2 pi, right? So this is appearing like a single root, but this was generated from an n degree polynomial, which must have n roots in exact, right? So this polynomial equation of degree n, it must have n roots in exact. How we can get those n values out of this single expression? The lone way out is iota, e, 2, pi, this cannot vary. Under a given possibility, n is also fixed. So it is only k which has still the scope of variation being any integer. And this single expression will generate n roots for k being attended with n different integers who generate different remainders when divided by n. Means those who are comfortable with the idea of modulo categories. So it's better to be said k will attend n values of different modulo n categories. Okay, now what does mean by modulo n categories? If we divide any natural number by another natural number, the remainder supposed to be a whole number, not x or less than the divisor. So if my divisor is n, then my remainders can be 0, 1, 2 up to n minus 1. So on the basis of the remainder, if I classify the natural numbers, so as per divisibility by n, we will create n classes. These are called n modulo class. And what are these n modulo classes? That is 0 modulo n means all those integers whom you divide by n will get remainder 0 on multiple of n numbers. Then 1 modulo n means the numbers which leaves remainder 1 when divided by n, and so on. So if k take n values from different modulo n categories, means k should attend n such values where division by n gives us different remainder every time, then we will definitely get n different roots for the equation. Okay, for
এই জায়গাটা
example,
মানে বুঝতে পারলাম মানে ডিফারেন্ট মডিউলার ক্যাটাগরি হচ্ছে কেন?
yes, like when we say it's 2k pi, it could have been any multiple of pi,
Yes, sir.
any even multiple of pi. So k has the scope of variation. But when you have divided by n, it's not anymore an even multiple of pi. So it's 2k pi by n. Okay.
Yes,
And
sir.
it's not a fixed value. K can vary. Now say you are taking values of k as n, 2n, 3n, 4n. Are they going to give you different roots?
No, sir.
If I try out values of n as n plus 1, 2n plus 1, 3n plus 1, 4n plus 1, are they giving us generate different values?
No, same.
If I try out values of k as n plus 2, 2n plus 2, 3n plus 2, 4n plus 2, still
Okay.
same.
Okay, sir, got it.
But if I try out values of k like 1 n plus 1, 1 n plus 2, then every time with each trial, we are getting a different root.
Yes, sir, got
Like
it.
for example, if I think of n as 5, we can think of k as 5 values like 26, 42, 58, 99, 5000. Very random 5 numbers, but what are the speciality? If you divide the first one with 5, you get a remainder 1. For this one, remainder 2. For this one, remainder 3. For 99, remainder 4. And obviously for the last one, it's remainder 0. Right?
Yes, sir, got it.
So trying out values of k in different modulo n categories means that. But these are random trials. Like I have written these 5 numbers. You can think of some other numbers. You can try out k is equals to some other values, right?
Yes.
Even it's need not to be in this order, like remainder 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 0. It need not to be in this order. It could have been in any other order, right? For n is equals to 5, can we go for k is equals to 13, 26, 39, 52, 65? Acceptable or not? I'm repeating the line again. For n is equals to 5, still we are considering possibilities of k as 13, 26, 39, 52, 65. Is that acceptable?
Yes, sir. Acceptable.
Yes, sir.
Any logic in my trial?
5 consecutive multiples of 13.
Very good. And how is 13? Is it co-prime with 5 or not?
Yes, sir.
So even if I try out 5 consecutive multiple of a co-prime number to 5, it will still do the job. It is a much better example than the earlier random one. And so
Yes, sir.
infinite choices being open and all are right. Is that okay with everyone? So to make the things a bit more sorted out, or better to say a bit more standard, what we have considered that in particular, the nth roots of unity can be represented as z is equals to e to the power I into 2 pi into k by n, for k is equals to first n whole numbers or otherwise first n natural numbers. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Because if we think of consecutive numbers, they always belongs to different modulo category. You consider first n whole number or first n natural number, they belongs to different modulo n categories. So it would have been much better example than a random trial. Okay. Moreover, after having this representation, we can think of this is z to the power, sorry, this is z is equals to e to the power I 2 pi by n whole to the power k for such variation of k.
Yes, sir.
Which shows us that the nth roots of unity can be considered to form a GP, right?
Yes, sir.
Is this statement okay with everyone?
Yes, sir.
And the argument of the roots of the considered nth roots of unity will form an AP, because this GP is being generated as e to the power I into 2 pi by n into k. So as the bases are same, so the powers are in AP, and in the power coefficient of I is the argument angle. So if the roots are in GP, then definitely the argument of the roots are definitely considerable to be in AP. I'm saying considerable because if you go for a random trial over there, they may not appear in AP in appearing form, but definitely we can reduce it to some other angle. Like if I think of the angle 101 pi by 4, right? So 101 pi by 4 can be reduced to 5 pi by 4, but that does not mean 101 pi by 4 is same as 5 pi by 4. So as an angular representation, they are equivalent, but not as a number. Is that okay? So when we are considering as argument, then they are equivalent to such angles. But when they have been considered as powers or numbers, then they are different. And what we have found, all the roots that we have found having modulus value 1, there is nothing written prior to E. modulus part is 1. So all the nth roots of unity are unimodular. Are you all comfortable with this conclusion? Even we have found that 1 is always a root of itself, irrespective of the natural value of n. Right? There was always one example of k which was multiple of n and generating 1 as definitely a root. So what are the conclusions we have got so far? The nth roots are in GP, which gives us the arguments are considerable in AP. All the roots are unimodular and 1 is always a root of itself. Now combining all this conclusion, what we can get is the nth roots of unity are gettable as vertices of a regular n-sided polygon circumscribed by mod z is equals to 1 and one of the vertices is fixed at 1, 0, right? 1, 0 is always a root of itself, so this will definitely be a root. And how are the other roots? They are on the circumference of this circle, mod z is equals to 1, as they are all unimodular. Moreover, they can be considered with arguments in AP. Arguments in AP means these angles are same. So they are equally spaced points on the circumference of mod z is equals to 1 circle. And hence, what conclusion we have got? That this nth roots of unity as vertices of a regular n-sided polygon circumscribed by mod z is equals to 1 and one of the vertex definitely at 1, 0. Right, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So in particular, if we think of cube roots, so they were 1 omega and omega square. Okay. We can think of rotation and shifting. Like with this idea, now if we think of a circle with radius 2, so center, origin and radius 2, and we have inscribed an equilateral triangle with one vertex at -2, 0. From this idea, if we go by shifting and rotation, or not shifting, just rotation and rescaling. So we have made the circle of double size and rotation of the triangle that confirms the other two vertices definitely at 1, √3 and 1, -√3 for that equilateral triangle. Okay. Or we can think of a circle of double radius having an equilateral triangle inscribed with one vertex 1, √3. So we can identify the other two. So if any one being said, other two can be identified. In general, you can think of if we get a circle of radius r where one of the vertex of the inscribed equilateral triangle been given as r e to the power I theta, then the other two is going to be r omega e to the power I theta and r omega square e to the power I theta. Is that okay? This is particularly for a circle with radius 2. As such, for any radius r, we can follow this transformation